This is KGW News at Sunrise.
And good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning. I'm Tim Gordon. This morning on Sunrise, even as COVID cases drop, a Portland hospital is running out of beds and forced to divert patients. We'll hear from staff at OHSU. Plus, why an Oregon church has been told to scale back their services for the homeless. But first, let's check in with Chris McGinnis with a quick look at that forecast. Chris?
Good morning, Tim. A little brisk out there, right? A little chilly, a little cooler than we've been the last couple of mornings at this time. It's dark. It's early, of course. We're still a good hour and 45 minutes away from sunrise. Our Rose City Sky camera showing the lights of downtown right now. 41, last check at PDX. Now, the breeze at PDX is calm, but I can tell you outside our studio right now, it's been a little gusty from time to time. And I expect that breeze to pick up as we head through our Saturday morning. Right now it's 41 in Scappoose. Beaverton has slipped to 44 at last check. Sherwood at 38. And the big picture here across the state of Oregon, obviously a little colder east of the Cascades this morning. Baker City, one of the colder spots, waking up to 30. And I think all of us get even colder tonight. At least east of the Cascades, you should be significantly colder tonight. All right, weather for today. One weather system pulling away from us. Minimal impact. Maybe some clouds tomorrow, but otherwise a really nice looking Saturday and Sunday for Halloween, for that matter. Here's a look at the plan for today. Mid 50s by lunchtime, upper 50s, just shy of 60, I think, here in Portland, with an east breeze, a little fresh east breeze out there, keeping things just a little gusty, drying out those leaves a bit. But otherwise, Tim, looks like a fantastic Saturday.
Good deal. Thanks, Chris. See you again soon. Well, cases of COVID-19 are on the decline, but we're not out of the woods yet. Across Oregon, hospitals are still strained. At OHSU, a memo notified the staff that its emergency department is now at capacity. Alma McCarty learned why that is and how hospitals statewide are dealing with it.
More than a year and a half into the pandemic, and the conditions inside hospitals are dire as ever. OHSU alerting its team this week to yet another capacity situation, noting a critical lack of ICU beds and more patients than ever before admitted to the emergency department. Per the notice, OHSU is diverting patients to other hospitals, assessing all surgical cases in the operating rooms, and seeking out more nurses. Dave Northfield with the Oregon Association for Hospitals and Health Systems explains how these new challenges aren't unique to just one hospital or even one area.
Oregon has the lowest per capita hospital bed count of any state in the country. Generally, that's a good thing, actually, because we have a very efficient system. But when you take that same system and add a pandemic on top of it, and add all those resources, and then layer on a staffing crisis, it creates a really terrible situation. And that's what we've been seeing for the last couple months.
Keep in mind, the Delta variant played a big role in the surge, but not every one of these current hospitalizations is related to COVID.
There are patients who have maybe delayed care during the pandemic, and then they're showing up now, and their conditions are more severe, so they might be staying in the hospital longer.
Add in a severe staffing shortage. Recent national data shows 1 in 5 healthcare workers left their position or the profession entirely during the pandemic.
It's not as if there are other nurses and other clinicians who are available to hire and come to Portland. There aren't.
Northfield says the immediate goal for all
hospitals are trying to just get through this surge and this capacity crisis any way they can.
Northfield predicts hospitals will be on the other side of the crisis by early 2022. Then he says everyone involved in healthcare needs to take a good long look at how to make these systems better.
Everybody agrees that this is not the last time when we're going to be stretched in this way.
Alma McCarty reporting there. The Oregon Health Authority keeps track of ICU and non-ICU bed capacity by region. We'll have a link to that in our story on KGW.com. Now, health officials noted here that staffing limitations aren't captured in that data, meaning hospitals are often more strained than those numbers show. A fire station in southeast Portland is woefully and consistently understaffed. Only 2 firefighters are on duty at any given time there. Now the firefighters union is asking the city to step in and help. Station 23 is near Southeast Powell in Milwaukee. The union president tells us the pair of firefighters stationed there just drive around in a vehicle similar to an ambulance. And when a big fire happens, they can't do much. That was the case earlier this week when this fire broke out near Southeast 28th and Powell.
They arrive and they have to wait for a 4-person company to be able to go inside or start an attack because there just is no water on a 2-person ambulance. And so they have to wait till one of the big rigs get there with the water.
The union president says the city needs to double staffing levels at Station 23 from 2 to 4 firefighters. He's asking the city to use some of its surplus revenue to pay for that. But Commissioner Joanne Hardesty tells us the Fire Bureau isn't eligible for that surplus revenue, but she adds she'll work with them during the regular budget process. Well, Portland police are asking for tips after a bullet hit a TriMet bus. It happened around 10:40 Thursday night on Southwest 5th and Oak. And you can see the bullet went right through the driver's side window. Check that out. Now, police say 2 people were fighting nearby before shots were fired. Now, there's just the driver and 1 passenger on the bus at the time of the shooting, and thankfully nobody was hurt. Well, gun violence is plaguing the city of Portland. This week, the city set a new record for the number of homicides in a year. We spoke with one man whose family is grieving. Dustin White's little sister, Ashley Walker, was one of 2 people shot and killed in a Northwest Portland apartment on Sunday. White says his sister lived a joyful life and deeply loved her 2 sons, who were 14 and 8 years old.
She was beautiful. She was loving. She had a passion for life. She loved music. She's really into cosplay and dressing up as like Princess Leia from Star Wars. And she loved to take her kids to like Comic-Con.
Investigators say Michael Van Domelen killed Walker and told police he'd been using meth and heard voices in his head telling him to shoot people. White says his sister was in the wrong place at the wrong time and added that city and state leaders need to better address mental health and substance abuse issues. But turning to the homeless crisis now, a city on Oregon's coast says a local church is feeding the homeless too much. So they introduced an ordinance limiting how often churches can give away food. A local reverend says good luck getting him to comply. The City Council in Brookings voted unanimously this week to limit churches to handing out food 2 days per week. Now, throughout the pandemic, St. Timothy's Episcopal has been serving food as often as 4 to 6 days per week. The Reverend says as many as 70 people regularly showed up. Over the summer, neighbors complained about increases in trespassing, theft, and other crimes. This week, the City Council passed its ordinance. However, St. Timothy's is not backing down.
We've already been given the application for the permit. We're not going to fill it out. At some point, there'll be a deadline that we'll miss. At some point, we'll get sent a fine, that we're being fined. We'll refuse to pay. And that's when we'll file a lawsuit in federal court. And we'll let the judge decide if we'll let the judge decide if our constitutional right to exercise our religion through the feeding of people in a soup kitchen in our church basement is protected by the First Amendment.
The neighbors of the church declined our request for interviews. We've left messages too with Brookings City leaders, but we have not yet heard back. Portland's plan to locate and build several small homeless villages by the end of the year is struggling with just 2 months to go. The city started with a list of 70 potential sites, and now all of them are off the table. But there are some new possibilities. Pat Doris reports.
While it was quiet in the late morning Friday, give it time. The Portland School District property where the old Whitaker Middle School stood next to Fernhill Park is popular and busy. It's also the latest piece of property the city is looking at for a new, small, homeless community, and it's a surprise to many.
I also think that there hasn't been a lot of community engagement from the city yet.
Amy Constam is a Portland School Board member, one of 9 who will have a final say on the plan. She said the city only recently made its proposal, and now the school board needs to talk with the neighbors and those who use the area.
We haven't done any community engagement, so we need to do our due diligence.
The city's idea joins 2 other proposals for the property, which has sat vacant for 14 years. One comes from supporters of the Albina Sports Complex, which would feature both indoor and outdoor track spaces, baseball fields, a cross-country path, and more. The other plan comes from Portland school employees who want to create a regional athletic center here. Whitaker Middle School was torn down in part because of radon gas below the building in the ground. It's unclear if that problem still exists. Both Constam and fellow board member Julia Brim Edwards acknowledge there is a problem with homelessness in the city.
We do feel a responsibility to really run this down and see if it might be possible. But that said, just a lot of work to do, a lot of people to talk to before we're anywhere close to making a decision.
But Brim Edwards said it's not clear yet that the Whitaker property should be part of the solution.
The concept is for the short term is something that the city should consider. Again, but in my role as a school board member that has a fiduciary responsibility both to taxpayers and also to our students to use our property and our assets in support of our mission, that's what the lens I have to look at this project through.
The Portland School Board expects to meet in mid-November to talk about this homeless proposal. They also expect that by then their staff will have a recommendation on which way they should go. In Northeast Portland, Pat Doris, KGW News.
Well, a lot of businesses had to adjust during the pandemic. And coming up, we'll show you photographs of what those changes look like for shops in Camas.